Look at yourself for a moment. Really look. Not in the mirror, not at your reflection, but in the quiet corners of your mind where no one else goes. There, in that private space, lies a truth that most people never dare to confront. You are not as free as you think. You walk through your days convinced that your choices are your own, yet so many of them are guided by invisible strings, fears you've never named, habits you don't question, desires planted long before you were old enough to understand them. And yet, the terrifying part is that you do not notice. You don't see the cage because it was built from the inside. This is not a philosophical abstraction. This is your life. It's in the decisions you make while scrolling mindlessly on your phone, in the arguments you win but never question, in the dreams you quietly suppress because the world told you they are impossible. Dieter Bonhoeffer once said, "The ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to its children." And if we are honest with ourselves, the world we live in today often fails that test, not because of cruelty, but because of complacency. We are prisoners of comfort, of routine, of fear disguised as reason. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to follow the crowd? How natural it feels to echo opinions without truly understanding them? Nietzsche warned that madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. And yet, our collective conformity is not obvious. It comes dressed in civility, in polite debate, in the illusion of choice. But underneath it lurks a quiet tyranny, the tyranny of unquestioned habits, unquestioned truths, and the quiet surrender of your mind to forces you barely recognize. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a man living in a city whose streets are lined with invisible walls. Every morning he leaves his apartment, believing the world is wide and open. But each step he takes is subtly guided. The billboards he passes, the conversations he overhears, the suggestions he doesn't question. One day he wonders why he feels so small, so constrained, so unfulfilled. And only then does he notice the walls, the invisible walls he has walked between his entire life. That man is you. That city is your mind. And the cruelest truth is that the walls feel like safety, not imprisonment. Plato, in his allegory of the cave, described people chained in darkness, mistaking shadows for reality. But unlike Plato's prisoners, you are not even aware of your chains. You consume information, opinions, and emotions that are filtered, curated, and designed to keep you compliant. The algorithms of your devices, the rhythms of your social circles, the culture that surrounds you, they are subtle, relentless, and entirely indifferent to your growth. You are shaped before you know it, directed before you realize it, and yet you call it life. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Freedom is terrifying. Freedom is not a gift. It's a burden. Nietzsche believed that most humans avoid freedom because it demands responsibility, the kind of responsibility that forces you to face your own weaknesses, your own biases, your own ignorance. It's easier to follow the herd. It's easier to nod, agree, and smile while the world passes by. But in doing so, you surrender your soul to mediocrity. You trade insight for comfort, depth for distraction, truth for convenience. Think about the last time you made a choice that was truly yours, not influenced by fear, by pride, by habit, or by the subtle nudges of society. When was the last time you acted purely from your own understanding, your own conscience, your own vision of what matters? If it has been a while, do not feel shame, feel urgency. Because the longer you live without confronting the invisible walls in your mind, the more indistinguishable your life becomes from the life of someone asleep. And the sleep of the soul is not peaceful. It is silent, slow, and merciless. Now let me push you further. You think your failures are mistakes, your regrets are accidents, and your dissatisfaction is circumstantial. But what if I told you that most of what you feel trapped by, Most of the dissatisfaction, the restlessness, the anxiety, stems not from external forces, but from your own mind. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Look closely and you will see. Fear rules your inner world. Fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of looking foolish. Fear convinces you to remain in the cage, to decorate it with comforts, and to call it home. Yet, liberation is possible. And it begins not with grand gestures or monumental changes, but with awareness. Awareness that your mind can be both your prison and your gateway. Awareness that discomfort is the signal of growth, that resistance is the path to freedom, and that questioning, even when it feels lonely, is the truest act of courage." Viktor Frankl, who survived horrors beyond imagination, wrote that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your power. Your freedom is in how you respond, not in the circumstances themselves. Here's an analogy. Your mind is a garden. For decades, thoughts, habits, and fears have taken root, growing silently, unnoticed, until some are weeds, some are thorns, and a few are flowers hidden beneath the chaos. You cannot uproot everything at once. You start small. You notice the weeds. You pull out one fear. You water one insight. And over time, that garden changes. It does not change overnight, and it does not change without struggle. But change is inevitable once you begin. But don't fool yourself. The journey is uncomfortable. There will be moments when the walls seem to tighten. Friends will question your choices. Society will mock your introspection. You may even question yourself. And that is precisely why this path is worth walking. Because the path of thought, of self-confrontation, of true courage, is the path few dare to tread. And the few who do, those are the people who see the world differently, who live differently, who dare to be alive in the truest sense. So here is the final truth, the one that lingers long after the video ends. The prison in your mind exists only as long as you accept it silently. The chains are invisible because you allowed them to be. The cage feels like comfort because fear convinced you to admire the bars. And yet, even now, even in this moment, the door stands before you. Step through it and you cannot unsee what you see. Step through it and you cannot unknow the freedom that awaits. Look again. Look inward. Recognize the walls. Feel the fear. And then, with the smallest act of courage, take the first step. Because the world you have been waiting for, the clarity, the depth, the life that makes your soul tremble with recognition, it is waiting for you on the other side. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply asleep. Wake up.